Venus DeMars is a musician, visual artist, and writer. She's performed since the 80s as a solo artist and as a founding member of the seminal glam rock band All the Pretty Horses. Tonight, Venus is we're talking about her life, career, music that influenced her as we listen to some of her own recordings from the Vinyl Reliable collection and some of the artists from that collection as well. So tonight, I'm really happy to introduce Venus DeMars.
Hey, thank you. This is really exciting.
All right, and so I'll be doing some chatting with Venus too, and going on talking about these records. And so I guess the way we're sort of going to structure it tonight is we're going to start by talking about some of the albums that Venus found in our collection that has some sort of special meaning to her, or stories about the songs or what they mean. And so we'll be our colleague Brian will be dropping the needle on the actual vinyl from the collection, and we'll be listening to some songs and talking about them. Then maybe when we get about halfway through, so that we make sure we get to it, we're going to listen to 3 different cuts of different projects that Venus has put out and talk about them. And then also definitely want to get to talking about Venus's memoir, some other questions I have, talking about playing live shows again, and all sorts of things. And if we continue to have time after that, of course, we'll take questions in the chat, and we can maybe get to some more of the picks from our collection that we didn't get to. So let's just get to it. This is the first slide that I had of one of the songs that Venus wanted to talk about. And if you want to still start with this one,
yeah,
talk about what this album and song means to you.
Yeah, well, it's Bowie, obviously, and I remember seeing him when I was just tiny, a kid, and I have the story that I tell. I didn't know him from anybody, of course, when I was a kid. I grew up in Duluth, and I was riding along with my mom. I don't know how old I was, under 10, I think. But I was riding along with her to go up to the Target store, which is over the hill. If you're if you're from Duluth or you know about it. It's kind of like a mini San Francisco, only it's really cold. And there's a hill over the lake, Lake Superior. And there was a shopping mall up there. This is way back in the 60s. And I rode along in the car, and she parked in the parking lot and walked in. I stayed in the car. It was nighttime. I remember the street light. And I had the radio on to keep me company while she was in the car. And this is the 60s. Nobody worried about anybody trying to break into a car, and there's just a kid in there, It was just like that. So I'm just looking around and looking at people getting in and out of their car, and it's dark and kind of cool looking. And then suddenly David Bowie came on, and this isn't the record, this isn't the cut for that, but because you didn't have that in the collection, but this is kind of similar era, and it was Life on Mars. And it was so haunting and so beautiful, and I love the story, and I gotta know what this song is and who this is. I was just fascinated. And then I kept running into him. I saw later, when I got a little bit older, he was hosting Midnight Special and we watched a little black and white TV in my sister's room, and it was a 1984 show where he had the hands on his body like this and the fishnet. And they had the bodies spelling out 1984, the dancers, and it was filmed in London, I guess. And I was fascinated by that, and I just love that otherworldly look that he had, and of course by then I already knew that there was something going on with me gender-wise. I didn't know, I didn't have language, but I knew that this was somebody I needed to pay attention to. So there we go. And this album is one of the early ones that I got, and I just love listening to it, and I love just the feel of it, and so I chose Breaking Glass. Yeah.
All right, well, let's listen to it.
Here we go. Yay!
All right, David Bowie, Breaking Glass. That is the same song. In March, I got invited to participate in Twin Cities New Wave Day at KFAI and contribute a 2-hour show to their streaming channel, and I played that song on my show. So it's a great song.
Yeah.
And you've actually covered David Bowie, and like you do 5 years sometimes and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I did. That's actually on my solo acoustic album. I covered 5 years, but I started doing that. Well, I did it first for one of the early. Oh, there goes my kitty. Ooh, this is Ponyo, by the way. Hi, Ponyo. Say hello to everybody. I started doing it because I loved his work, and I put out Queens and Angels, and I did a cover on that album. But then there is a tribute, annual tribute to Bowie that happens called Rebel Rebel at First Avenue that Mary Lou
Rock
Shields.
for Pussy, right?
Rock for Pussy is the internal name for it. It's not the
Okay.
official.
Oh,
but
that's
yes. Okay. But yes, and it's for animal shelter, particularly cats. And it's fundraiser for that. And so I kind of somehow wiggled my way in there and got to be the halftime show where I get to, the house band takes a break and then I get my band up on stage and we do my version of a cover, and we play it in the middle of the night, and then we leave, and then the house band comes back on and does more of a karaoke style backing for other guests coming in. Anyway,
yeah, I've
so
seen you do that at least twice. I saw like Hollow Space Boy you did one time, and I forget what the other year was that I saw it, but yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I've done it like 10, 12 times now. And we always try to make it a big production and have fun and get props and all of that fun. But that got me to start really digging into his music and coming up with covers. And when I do a cover, I do, only the artist can do their version of it. And I'm not a cover band, so I'm not trying to sound like them. But what I try to do is I try to get in, find the emotion that artist was looking for, delving into with their lyric. And then I adjust the melody to fit my key range, because my key range is a little weird. It's in between. I have a nice wide range, but it's kind of weird. Doesn't fit into everything. So I usually have to transpose it anyway. And then I try to find a way to do it so that I can reach that emotional delivery without trying to copy what the artist did. So I'm trying to get the spirit of the song, but I'm not trying to duplicate a recording. So that's how I do it.
All right, great.
I'm also a chatterbox. So just so everybody knows, if you get me talking, I'll just talk forever. So cut me off if I'm rambling too much.
No, it's great. It's great. I mean, the only problem is the more we talk, the less of the picks we'll get to. But we definitely want to hear you talk about all your thoughts and everything. So, tell me, do you want to continue with this one, or do you want to go to a different one? Okay,
this one is
Talking Heads.
Yeah, and this one, oh yeah, this is a good one. So I bought this one when I was living. This is before I came out too, but I was living on my own up in Duluth in my apartment. And I was exploring, just discovering punk music and, finally realizing I don't have to sound like the top 40 radio stuff that was going on. There's all this DIY stuff and really cool stuff. So I'm really getting excited about music, and maybe I can actually write it and perform it. And Lynette, my wife, actually, we were friends back then. She introduced me to the Talking Heads, and this was a new album, and I grabbed it, and this particular song, Drugs, I just loved because it was so different than everything else. And I just remember putting it on my record player in my apartment with the sun coming in and listening to the album and just getting blown away by how out there they were compared to everything that we were able to listen to back then, where there was no internet, only the radio, and only top 40. So that's the kind of context I was listening to all of these things with. So yeah,
Right.
let's do it.
Listen to the Talking Heads, Drugs from Fear of Music.
I forgot the introduction was so long.
And all I see is little smear summer spots. Feel like whenever that's alright. Someone said it's too much light. You say it's on. It'll be over in a minute or two. I'm charged up. You'll put me down. Feel like talking. You'll miss me. I feel mean. Feel okay. Just electricity. Look, I make. Yes. This is something like. I don't know what they're talking about. Girls are worried. Girls are shy. Get the sound. Let it pop. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Heat. I'm kind of running. I'm barely moving. I'm stuck. Steady myself. I pull myself. I feel mean. I feel okay. Electricity. That's what I wanted.
We want to fade out at all.
Yeah, we could fade it out.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So just an idea, if you'd like to just fade out the music a little bit after you kind of get the flavor of the music, that might save some time. And that's okay with me, because if everybody else is okay with it.
That's cool. Sure. Yeah, because then we'll get more in. Or at some point, if Brian's listening, we could just say, okay, that's enough, and usually he'll respond and take it off.
Okay.
Cool.
Why don't I
All
just say that? Fade it out. Fade it out.
Sure. Yeah. Then yeah, he'll just know. All right. So, do you want to continue with this one?
Yeah, we can talk about that. What I like about Iggy Pop is just the intensity he did. I mean, he just represents all of that punk energy and the craziness. And this particular record that I found in your collection, which this is all at the library, which is what we're, this first part of this is to just kind of showcase some of that. I just love the live sound of it, and well, particular, how Iggy Pop has this really kind of this low voice that he does and kind of wavery, that's kind of what you know him by. But this particular song, he sounds a lot like Bowie and a lot like the Ziggy Stardust era stuff. So I just thought that was fascinating because and people know the story that Bowie was feeling threatened by Iggy Pop because of splitting up the attention. And so his way of dealing with it was to become friends and start working together with him. And they did a lot of work together. And I thought that was kind of a brilliant way, instead of just trying to, compete like that, but just like, hey, let's work together. So I just thought that was really nice, and I like the song. So we can listen to it and get a sense of that, and then we can fade it out. I'll just fade it out.
I believe we're listening to Search and Destroy.
Walking cheetah with a hide full of napalm. I'm a runaway son of the nuclear A-bomb. I am the world's forgotten boy, the one who searches and destroys. Honey, gotta help me, please. Somebody gotta save my soul. Baby, that ain't for me. Look out, honey, 'cause I'm using technology. Ain't got time to make no apology. So radiation in the dead of night, love in the middle of a firefight. Honey, gotta strike it right. Somebody gotta save my soul. Baby, better take my mind. And the world's forgotten boy, the one who's searching to destroy. And honey, I'm the world's forgotten boy, the one who's searching only to destroy.
Yep, we could fade it down. Or just cut it off like that, nice and raw.
Yeah, that's a great song. So many people have covered that song. I mean, and I just saw it recently. There was this band called Silent Treatment playing, I think that's the name, playing at Palmer's, and they were like a punk rock karaoke machine. It was great, and they did that song, and yeah, that's one that's stood the test of time for sure.
I love it. Also, I just want to remind people, if you have a question or something, I have a bunch of songs that I chose, but I was going to just kind of like let the conversation guide where it's going to go. So if you have questions or anything, type it into the chat. I'm looking at it here, so I can totally answer any questions you have about anything. It doesn't even have to be about what we're talking right now. So just type it in, and I will go for it. What do we? Oh yeah, this one. Oh, this is so nice. So I do DJ on occasion. I did more when I was doing like a regular night and things like that, but then that got to be so crazy. So I quit doing that, and I do one off, and then of course COVID hit. But anyway, I do actual vinyl. I have 4 crates I carry around. It's a big hassle, really heavy. I got a big coffin, and it's just, so I love doing it, but it's a lot of work. This particular album, by David Sylvian. I just really love this cut, and it's one of the cuts that I usually put into my my song. It's very, very. It's very powerful. It's very honest and vulnerable, and it's describing a domestic abuse situation and how people just put up with it. And I just thought it was just a really powerful song, and not radio friend, not dancey, not anything like that. It's just like, you know, when I'm starting off a set, I kind of like slowly build it in, and I just make more atmospheric stuff. And this is one of my favorite cuts. And I would just, you know, just to get into the lyric of it, I would love to hear that. And that is, what is that? Where are we? Where is my thing? Yeah, David's Secrets of the Beehive. And it's When Poets Dreamed of Angels.
It's Venus. She's doing an event at the library. It's actually
She rises early from bed, runs to the mirror, the bruises inflicted in moments of fury.
I either.
He kneels beside her once more, whispers a promise, next time I'll break every bone in your body. And the world wishes let the devil in. Death the river and drive it, deny it happening.
One of the plants looks like it's completely destroyed.
As the card players deal their hands from the bottom of the deck, row upon row of feudal houses blow away. Medicine for the popular complaint. When the poets dreamed of angels, what did they see? History lined up in a flash at their backs. When the poets dreamed of angels, what did they see? The bishops and knights were placed to attack.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful song. And it says so much. So, and that's something, you know, when I'm writing lyrics as a songwriter, that's what I try to do. I try to get some of the strongest things are artists. And actually, as I went through this, it occurred to me that I'm choosing the artists who say something. They're willing to take a risk and do. Some of the artists that I follow, they're very honest, they're very transparent, and they're very vulnerable in their lyrics. I mean, of course, you've got the rock and roll stuff and the swagger stuff and blah, 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 and I love that too. But there are particular artists that are just like willing to just bear everything. And I'm just so moved by them. And I've always used that when I write lyrics. And I think, what am I going to write that's going to just make a difference and to say something?
And
And Yeah,
Oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say, was David Sylvain, was he the in Japan, the singer from Japan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And he used to live in Minneapolis for a little while too, I understand.
Hmm.
I think a friend of mine ran into him in a grocery store in Uptown.
Wow.
And nobody knew who he was. But yeah. Um, so yeah, that's part of that group of songs I love. Um, and then Cosmic Dancer, which I think we got next, T-Rex. Of course, that goes back to my influence, which is for music, because I love the 70s glam, kind of that era of stuff, rather than the 80s glam. So I like the early stuff where it's more has to do with the melody and the odd compositions and that kind of cool mix. And T-Rex is part of that. And Cosmic Dancer is another one of the cuts that I really like of that era. And I do use in my DJ set often. I have that at least handy. I like to know where it is. Okay.
Cool. And just a bit of housekeeping. We heard some talking during that last song. So if everybody who's listening could mute yourself by clicking on the little microphone, that would help. So let's listen to Cosmic Dancer.
Ooh, and I'll answer the chat here too. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was dancing when I was 12. I was dancing when I was 12. I was dancing when I was out. I was dancing when I was out. I danced myself right out the womb. I danced myself right out the womb. Is it strange to dance so soon? I danced myself right out the room. I was dancing when I was 8. I was dancing when I was 8. Is it strange to dance so late? Is it strange to dance so late? I dance myself into the tomb. I dance myself into the tomb. Is it strange to dance so soon? I dance myself into the tomb. Is it wrong to understand the fear that dwells inside a man? What's it like to be alone? I liken it to a balloon. I dance myself out of the womb. I dance myself out of the womb. Is it strange to dance so soon? I dance myself into the tomb. Again, again, once
That sounds
more.
cool. I got caught up in writing my chat. I'm not paying attention.
I dance myself.
Yep.
Back
I was
to
just, I had a
Rex.
question about if I have guilty pleasures of music, and I do. So I just wrote a couple things, but I like dancey 80s, and kind of going on into the fetish world, that kind of stuff. So it's real strong and kind of experimental sounds. And I have to explain also that uh, So I've got just my brain works in a particular way. I'm very visual. I'm not very good with words or remembering names or anything like that. And one of the reasons I bring 4 crates of DJ albums with me is that I know the songs by visually looking at the covers, and I never remember the names of the bands. I never remember the names of the songs. I have ADHD. I don't know if that has anything to do with that, but I just can't grab those things in my brain. It doesn't file it away, but visually I know it. So when I'm answering stuff, I'm gonna answer it in more of that descriptive way. And if I hear a song, I know I like it. So I apologize for not having the names of things or the the bands I like. But yes, I have guilty pleasures too.
All right. Well, I think we have time for one or two more of your picks, and then I'd love to get into hearing some of your music after that. And
Yeah,
and then
totally.
if we have time, we'll get back to some more. But we got to hear some Patti Smith and
Yeah.
tell us what
Oh,
you think. Yeah.
let's do Patty. Yeah. Let's do the one from Patty. I love that's another one that my wife Lynette introduced me to, and one of the things as a trans woman, even though my voice is a little bit more masculine when I sing, I use women artists in rock and roll are my role models that I watch, and the strength that they do, or how they position, how they deliver. Patti Smith is ideal for that. I've followed her career all the way since the early days, and I just love the attitude that she's had. And I've read her books. We're talking about memoir. If we talk about that later, I read her Just Kids memoir, and I just really like what she does. So yeah, totally. Let's listen. Yeah. It occurs to me when I'm listening to her, another thing that I find really fascinating so I started singing in my first band. I never sang a note before. And my first band, I was actually the lead guitarist and I hardly sang. And when I did, and I found some recordings of it, I sound horrible. I'm just like horrible. So I was like in my uh, I was in my mid let's see, early 20s when I started singing, and I didn't know anything. And what fascinated me as I listened to different people like Patti Smith and like David Byrne, um, and of Iggy Pop and Bowie, is the commitment they had with their voice to just like jump in with both feet. And you can hear that they've got a style. They're not just trying to hit the notes right, they're really diving in, they're tearing into it, and they're like shoving that cake in their mouth. You know what I mean? They're just like rah. And that I used that to begin to try to figure out how to sing and how to find a way to deliver the lyric and the vocals. And so I spent my first band, the Horses actually, and the band before that. I spent all of my time just screaming my head off into really horrible PA in the practice room, and it was just that blowing my lungs out that I finally learned how to commit myself to singing and then start crafting it from there. So anyway, it just occurred to me as we were listening, and there you go. There's a little thing.
All right. Well, so do you want to like get to some of your stuff now, or did you want to
Sure.
do one more? Well, yeah, we can come back if we have time or if we feel like it. So I'll quickly go through these and show Venus's other picks, and then if we
Yeah.
feel like listening to them later, we had Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Oh, that's our song.
We had is this Plastic Ono Band? It's John Lennon, Yoko
Yes.
Ono.
Yes, and I love the rawness of his voice and the honesty that he does on this album. Yeah.
It looks like the songs you had were Well, Well, Well and Working Class Hero,
Yep.
possibly. Velvet Underground, of course. And you were
Also.
choosing a song Murder Mystery, which is one
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah. Because I love the chatter back and forth, two different conversations, stereo, hard panned right and left, and just doodle-loo-loo-loo, doodle-loo-loo-loo, and they're saying that they're different things, but they're talking. It's just I love the experimentation that they did in this album, and it was early days, really, really not very good recording, but I just love it. I just love the feel of it. So yes.
All right. And then we even had the Monkees. I'm Not Your
Yes.
Stepping Stone was going to be one of
That's
your.
because I used to watch the Monkees when I was a little kid on TV, and I just was like, I love the fact that they were all together and the band and what I just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be in a rock and roll band. I want to be like that. So that was one of my early inspirations of maybe being in a band is something I could do. So
All right.
yes.
Cool. Well, if we have time at the end and we feel like listening to any of those, we can do so. But yeah, I want to get you well, you have
I-
a pretty extensive discography. Like, how many albums do you have out? I mean, you've got this one, which was before All the Pretty Horses, and you've got like
1984.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this was before. I think I read or heard you say that you came out as trans in 88, and I think
Yes.
this is from 84. So this was
Right.
you were Stephen Grandel, and you put
Yeah.
out this and well, what do you want to say about this album?
Yeah, totally. This was 4 years before I came out. Interestingly, if you get this is a huge collectible. I don't know how it got around. I put it out myself. 500 copies. I'm down. I'm down to just like 22. Actually, right up there, you can see I made a special package for the last 22 pressings of that, and then I have to repress it. So I did a kind of a collectible retrospective package for that. It's a real special thing. Anyway, almost every song on this has to do with being trans. I would say everyone, actually, when I think about it. There's a couple where I was kind of imitating some other people, and I would say, yeah, those probably aren't, but the bulk of them, like in this cut that I chose, Burn My Eyes, that's absolutely about being trans. But we can talk about that because at this time, I didn't have the language to understand what being trans was. I mean, I kind of knew, I knew about transsexual, I knew about transitioning, but in that early day primitive way, it was like another world, an impossibility for me. And as I was exploring, trying to understand who I thought I was falling into the fetish world and being a fetishist about that. Now, I love fetish. I love that whole world, and I spent a lot of time in that, and that's where we perform. So it's not that but but that didn't define me as being trans. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't trans because I was a fetishist. I was trans because I was trans. I had a gender thing. And now we have the language to be able to put that together. But back in that day, there wasn't anything. And that was a place where I could express who I was, and it fell under that fetish definition, but it wasn't quite accurate. And then also, when I was struggling with it and trying to get rid of it, in these days, it also fit into the addiction model. So, like purging, you can't stop it. You try to stop it, and then you got to go back, and then you go like full force into it, and then you get shamed, and then you throw it all away. It fit perfectly in that addictive monologue of what that is. So then I didn't know how to think about it like that. Like, is it an illness? Do I have that? So that's the tangle that was going on with me in those early days. And this album is full of all of that struggle of trying to understand it. And it's code, because that's the way you wrote back then. But it is. And Burn My Eyes, I was talking about it as if it was destroying my life, and I didn't know what to do. It was destroying my relationship, because by now, Lynette and I were married. So there we go. We can listen to it. I'll cut it after a little bit, but yeah.
One look and the clouds are dark enough. One check and the rain is wet enough. I see you and you lost the question. I see you and I've lost the game. One dream will burn my eyes. One dream will burn my eyes. One cage is a cage for destiny. One trap is a cage for destiny. I look at you and I need the answers. I look at you and I've lost my head. One dream is enough to understand. One dream is too much to understand. One dream is the cause of happiness. One dream is the cause of loneliness. One dream will burn my eyes. One dream will burn my eyes.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
All right, and you still like I think at the Hook show you were selling copies. Yeah, you said you still have some copies of
Yes.
that you're
Of this
selling
one,
and stuff.
yeah,
so-
I've got that. And in that one, the last few, I mean, this is expensive, but I found an old videotape of my band Before All the Pretty Horses performing in Duluth, and I performed that song in 1980, 83, 80, yeah, 83, yeah, I think so, or eight, no, even earlier than that, 82, I think. And so I got that video of that, and I put it on an enhanced CD there. So you plug it into a computer, you can access the movie, and you can. And I have one. I wrote a lot of songs back then. I had like 9 songs that I never released from that era that I still have, and I've digitized them now. And when I re-release that album, I want to put those 9 songs out there that were never released as kind of a bonus thing. But yeah, you can hear my voice is deeper. I'm doing that deeper voice, and it's that kind of DIY synth stuff. And oh, I was looking behind me here. I have a Mattel drum machine. Anybody remember these? That's what I used for the drums on that. Plus my drummer. So there are live drums on that too. But I just had my drummer, and that's Bill Bailey, who was my first drummer in All the Pretty Horses. But I had him just drum in a one loop, and I just recorded a single bunch of drums, and then I would write the song to that drum track. So there were no changes in the drums. Same with this. You just come up with a rhythm and the drums never change through the whole song. So yeah, and it still works. It still works.
Oh.
All right, I'm nerding out. I got to stop.
Okay.
now.
Well, so now, so All the Pretty Horses, or Venus de Mars and All the Pretty Horses, you've put out a ton of albums. So
Yeah.
yeah, give us the quick speech on
Oh,
how that came about and where this fits in, or whatever you want to say about this album and song.
Yeah, so 10 Bones is actually kind of the first vinyl I put out as the band, kind of coming back, and this was put out in what, 2006, I think, or something like that. Yeah, something like that. No, later than that. No, later than that. I don't have the record. What is it? Who's got the record? Look on the back of the record. I don't even remember. It was 2012, maybe 2012. I am guessing now. So that's horrible. I should have my notes in front of me. I don't want to waste time. Anyway. So yeah, somebody else. 2011. Yeah, I got close. Okay, thank you, Brian. So yeah, so this is kind of like the last one. After this album, I put out a solo acoustic, Flesh and Wire. Right before this album, I put out a solo produced album, full band, called Trash and Broken Hearted. But this particular one, I was trying to do the band model with it. So I invited my bandmates at that time, which was LaFreak and Jazz Angel on drums, and I had them come in and play for a couple of the songs. A lot of it is produced with my producer, Barb Morrison. If you Google her name, you'll find all about her. She's from New York. She does all kinds of people now. But I met her when I was first touring out to New York in 1996, I think. And she was a bartender at the Meow Mix out there. And I got to know her. We got to be friends. And she was playing around with the idea. She had a band too called Itchy Trigger Finger. And she was trying to play around with being a producer. So she wanted to record. I hired her to do an album with me at Pachyderm Creature, and she slowly was becoming more and more popular. She produces now for Debbie Harry. You know, she's way up there now. She's busy. She's flying all over the place. It's very successful. But I still get the Friends discount, so that's great. So yes, okay, I'm a chatterbox. See, you got to rein me in, rein me in, rein me in. Play the song.
You walk into the place like a hero who's come home, like a hero all alone. A smile is on their face, like the voices that you hear simply nestle in your ear. It's always tragedy that we make it all this way, and we still can't seem to stay. And I think I'm gonna see, but the stumble in my head makes me wish that I were. I'm waiting for mercy. I'm lost again. I'm always lost again. I'm falling for have mercy. I'm crushed again. I'm always crushed again. It's a careless mystery that the
Okay,
sadness
we can
in
bring it
our
down.
hearts keeps.
Yeah, wanted to get to the title of that, but yeah. So voice is different than Animal Angst. That's a number of years between the two, and but I still have the depth and I didn't try to change my voice after I transitioned. So I didn't do surgery to, sometimes that's a technique to cut your lower vocal cords. And I love the depth and the range that I can do with my voice, even though I'll still get gender mistaken gender. I can't even think. Anyway,
mislabeled.
mislabeled, yeah. So yeah, but I love the way to be able to do that. And then this one, this is my solo acoustic album, which I had. There's a story behind that, but Jim Walsh did this this thing where he's a hootenanny, where he invited rock and rollers and musicians to come in and sit around and do this. Everybody takes one turn and do a song, and you go around the circle and you do another song. And he invited me to be part of that early on. And I'd never done that before. I always had a band. He saw me at a gas station, long time ago now. But he invited me to do that, and I was scared to death. And I thought, okay, I'll do it. And I was thinking, okay, I got to bring, a microphone. And I'm going to do. And when I showed up, no microphone, no nothing. You just sit with your guitar, and everybody's sitting in the bottom of a coffee shop, and you just sing. And I was just shaking. I was so nervous, but I fell in love with finding the core of my songs, where it's just the lyric and just the guitar. And I just fell in love with that whole genre, and I started really working with that, and it helped me really hone in on what I was writing and why I was writing. And so I put out this album after I toured with Laura Jane Grace, and what song did I choose for Take My Shoulders, the title one, for this EP. And Laura was kind enough. I wanted to do something with her, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. And this is the thing I came up with. And after I finished the tour, still stayed in touch with her, and I sent her the files, and she came up with the song or the harmony for the chorus. And she came in there. So this one I think will play a little bit longer because I want to get her in there because our voices really match really well. And it's a beautiful song about being trans and the trans community, and trying to find a way to be together, have all of us together and help each other out. So yeah, let's do it. Take my hand, take my shoulder, I understand, I can hold you, I know you can, you're something bolder, there is no plan. And it's getting colder. Oh, my brother, see my sister. There are no others. There is no difference. I could be you. I could be you. You could be me.
you could be me.
We struggle onwards and desperately. There's too much fear. There's too much hardness. There's too much fear. It's never farthest. Stop your hate. Stop your gun. Stop your fighting. We are one.
Hold me, sister, hold me. Hold me, brother, hold me. Hold me, father, hold me. Hold me, mother, hold me.
Hold me, sister, hold me. Hold me, brother, hold me. Hold me, father, hold me. Hold me, mother, hold me. Hold me, sister, hold me. Hold me, brother, hold me. Hold me, father, hold me. Hold me, mother, hold me. Hold me, sister, hold me. Hold me, brother, hold me. Hold me, father, hold me. Hold me, mother.
Carry me, I'll carry you. We could be stronger.
We could be stronger.
We could be true.
We could be true.
Make me wise. Make me breathe. Make me feel you. Make me grieve. Okay.
All right, that's a cool song, and that one really does show off your vocal range. And
Yeah. And Laura's edition is just beautiful. I just was so happy. And she had to pull off and find a recording studio while she was still on the road and just go in and do it. And it was just really, really sweet of her to go out of her way to do that.
now, if anybody doesn't know, Laura Jane Grace is another transgender artist who plays in the band Against Me and also has a solo thing. But
Yeah.
I think she transitioned well after you did, because I think I saw Against Me before she had, and then I've seen them since she has.
Yeah, and I have she broke the ceiling of trans. In my opinion, my humble opinion, she broke the ceiling and kind of started the trans revolution that we've seen, the between the old and the new world. I think because she broke the ceiling in commercial music to get the industry to think maybe this is something that we need to pay attention to. And I had been hammering away at that glass ceiling for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and I just never got anywhere. I got an audience, I got on the underground, but I couldn't get the industry to see it. And but because I realized it was because I was going from the ground up. So I was like on the ground, banging away up there, trying to convince them, no, look at me, look at me. And of course, they're not going to do that. Laura, on the other hand, already got their attention. She already got her band signed. She was making money for the record label. She was doing well. Then she transitioned. And the record labels had to say, wait a minute, we just invested all this money in you. I don't know if I like this. What are we going to do about it? It forced their hand. It forced the hand to take a chance. And so they did. And when her article came out in the Rolling Stone, it just blew the walls off everything. And she did it you know, and you don't really choose these things. I'm sure it was a struggle, and I know that she lost her relationship after she came out. Um, but she did it the way it needed to be done in order to open up those doors, and it changed everything. And you know, uh,
She,
yeah,
she's got a book out, I think, called Tranny,
right,
actually,
she
right?
does,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I read it, but it was a while ago, so I yeah, but it's interesting, yeah.
yeah.
So all right, well, let's move on and talk a little bit more about your life and your history and some other questions I have.
Sure.
I just remembered when we were getting ready, that to do this show, I remembered, I saw this documentary about you a long time ago,
Yeah,
and I found that it's on Amazon Prime.
yeah.
You got to pay 2.99 or something to rent it, or you can buy it for more. But this is kind of a picture of it. That's you and your wife Lynette on the
Yeah.
cover. And so, tell me a little bit about this. This, I believe, came out in like
This was
84,
no,
84.
no,
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 no, I
no.
mean 2000, 2004, 2004,
Yeah, it
right?
came
So,
out 2004, 2006. It did a couple of, yes, it did a festival run for about 2 years. So this was early. Um, uh, if you see and please, anybody, it's great. You know, just type in Venus of Mars in the search in Amazon Prime videos, and you'll find it. And we get a little bit of money from each time, so that's cool. Um, but it's a period piece. It is before everything changed. So this was I was still Lynette was still using my male name and my male pronouns. I didn't know how to really advocate for anything different because the trans world had not gotten to that level yet. I mean, it's hard to really understand and get your head around now, but that's the way it was. And so I wasn't pushy. I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I was going by Venus. Everybody knew me as Venus except Lynette in her relation. People would not understand, and fans would like, what is she doing? And it was a difficult navigation for her because she was looking to me, and I didn't know how to tell her, and that it was more than just a stage name. And it was a complex thing. So Lynette is writing a memoir. She's already gotten the manuscript done. It's already getting seriously considered for publication, and so likely look for that. That is going through the process that publishers do to try to consider it. And if it does work out, it would be coming out in a couple of years. But it's a huge step forward. So she writes about that as a very important story and kind of living in the dark with not knowing what to do. Um, and how to navigate that. And I didn't know how to tell her because I didn't really have that foundation either. I was still trying to understand and invent and figure out and create the language for being trans. Um, so yeah, this but this is a rock doc. The filmmaker Emily Goldberg followed us for about 4 years. She started filming in 2000, followed us out to England, and a tour there. She followed us out to New York. It was great. I'd walk around New York with my stage outfit on with these big cameras following me, and people would get out of the way, like, what's going on? I felt powerful, of course, that's so cool. And she films an interview I did with Playboy magazine in New York. So you get to see that. And the interviewer was a jerk. I'll just say that. um, but yeah, I mean, she caught a lot of what it was like for me back then. But she didn't get the behind the scenes stuff so much. The memoirs are exploring more of that, what it was really like to try to untangle and the private stuff. And one thing with the filmmaker, she walked away from big arguments and she didn't jump on it and turn it into a reality TV thing. She really took her time. She gave us the privacy to untangle some huge explosions. And because she did that, we trusted her more and we were able to reveal more things and not shut up when she wanted to find out more things. So I think it worked out really well. It's kind of a different way of approaching a film, and we're still friends, actually, the filmmaker and us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And as you said, I did notice that Lynette, you used your male name in the film, which
Yeah.
I assume has changed by now. And also in the film, there's a lot of talk about, well, you really like being in between, and
Yep.
at some point you said, I'm no, I don't really plan on doing more, surgeries and things like that. And
Yeah,
so,
in fact, at that point, all I had been doing is hormones. So I was actually living kind of a hybrid gender life. So my body had naturally transitioned into a real unique place physically. And we could talk about that if you want, but it was exciting. I found it powerful and fun, and I liked it, and it was good. But as things are in trans world, as you move forward, you eventually get to some place where it's like, no, this isn't right. This isn't my truth, and I have to do more. Since then, I have transitioned surgically. I've had confirmation surgery, and I did some facial feminization surgery, but I did it very carefully so that I just wanted to glue myself together a little bit more. So I liked the way I looked before, but if you look at this photograph right here now, you look at it, you can see that I have a much squarer jaw. And I like that. When I was living between genders and I was doing this third gender thing, I liked that powerful feeling and the way it looked. But once I had confirmation surgery, it felt awkward. I didn't expect that. And so I had surgery just to pull away some of that male growth that happens to your jaw after puberty. And I feel better now. It feels more complete. So, and I don't look different, you know. So there we go. So
well, that's great.
information.
And I know that, in common for people like me, who I consider an ally, we're told, if you see a trans person, it's not polite to ask, these kind
Oh.
of questions. But however, you've been very open all along about everything on your
Oh,
social
people
media.
ask me everything. I was out there in the early days when people were just completely rude and they had no idea that they were being rude. And just, it was amazing. But that was the only way you made progress. You had to, and I would tell people, I would say, now I need to let you know, be careful about asking a question with other people. That is a really personal question. I'll answer it, but just be aware. And then I would answer their question. And that's what I did. And I did that like at least on a weekly basis, if not almost daily sometimes. Because I was very public and very out, and I was on stage and I was interacting with people, and everything I did was public. So I understand, and that is something that people do not want to do, or they're like, it's tough. But I was in a position where I felt like I could handle it and I could make some changes by educating people and letting people being rude and awkward and ask the dumb questions that, because you're never going to learn if you don't do that. And so that's what I did. And I kind of took that on.
Yeah.
So,
and I even saw, and well, we won't get deep into it, but on your social media, you posted about having a little bit of fun with some TSA agents at the airport who didn't
oh, God, yeah.
quite understand certain
My dilators, yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah,
And of
I
course,
love
since I'm ignorant, I had to look it up and Google it, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now, but anyway.
that. Yep.
So let's get on a little bit more. As you already started talking about the memoirs, and this is, I believe, like a bookmark that you put out at some
Yeah.
point, with some pictures of the. And so both you and Lynette are writing separate memoirs, right? And are they
Yes, yeah.
going to come out at the same time, or just when they're
No.
ready? Or
No, they'll come out. Lynette's will come out first, and if I really push myself, which I am trying to do, I'm hoping that I can start shopping mine around in about I'm hoping to get my manuscript done enough by the end of this year to begin to shop it around next year to see if I can get a publisher enticed by it. And then you got to go through rewrites, you got to go through a bunch of stuff after that. But yeah, I might, hopefully. So then mine would come out secondarily. And my writing is more experimental. I'm writing in present tense. And I'm writing kind of a braided memoir, it's turning out to be, which means I am following different timelines in my experience and I'm putting them together, kind of like if you read a story and you have subplots, different characters. You have this story, your main character, you follow them, and then you have the subplot character and you follow that. Well, and then it goes back and forth like that through the book. So the way I'm doing it is I'm taking the subplots are actually my timelines. So I have the present tense timeline, which is 2004. Lynette and I were separated. Interestingly, it wasn't because of gender trans thing. It was because I was trying to be a rock star and I was spending all of my money and I was going horribly in debt on credit cards. And I was just obsessed with making it and doing it. And I felt like I was just on the verge. And so I just sacrificed everything. And that strained our relationship to the point that Lynette couldn't deal with it and we separated. So my life was exploding. So that's how I opened the book. My life is shambles. And but I got rock and roll. So that's how my book starts. So that's the main timeline. And then I go back to when we're doing well as a couple and the band is starting to pick up and we're starting to tour out to New York and things are looking good. So that's another timeline where things are good, but they're going to move into this dangerous place. And then I go to another one where Lynette and I aren't married. I'm just getting to know her as a friend and where I'm trying to navigate what that is, and I have no clue about what to do with my trans feelings. So that's another timeline. So I got those three main timelines that are going, and I'm going back and forth with them. I'm keeping them in chronological order as I go through that, but they all have their own arcs, which will kind of culminate at the same time. And that's kind of a rough way of how I'm writing my memoir. And Lynette's is more traditional and reflective, written in our actual present and then looking back on it. And she covers a much wider span of time, all in chronological order. And so hers is more, I suppose, a little more traditionally written and easier to read on that level. I have to kind of train my readers in on how to read my memoir. So
yeah, well, it's a fascinating story, and actually, a little before COVID, I think it was maybe December 2019, I went to see a reading where both of you read from your manuscripts.
yes,
And got to hear a little bit of both of your, and it should be fascinating to read the books. I mean, didn't you just celebrate like your 38th anniversary or something like that?
38th
Yeah, I
anniversary.
mean that's amazing, and just the story that when you guys got married, she didn't even have any idea that
5 years in before I came out. Yeah.
and you're still together. That's just fantastic. So it'd be really interesting to read that story.
Yeah.
Um, all right, well, we got a few more minutes, and I definitely got a couple other things I want to ask you about, but let's just do a taste of this. Now, you
at
have
the hook.
you have started playing live shows again. And one of them
Yes.
was less than a week ago. I was there, Jeff was there, a lot of people were there, and it was such a fun night to just see you and the whole band and the dancers and everything. And, tell me how it felt to do that, and then you've got a couple other shows coming up.
Yeah, yeah. Just a little bit of this because I'm sure it sounds terrible, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
Go
only about a minute long, this video.
Okay.
So and actually you can see Lynette dancing right up front, like, so that's fun too. But yeah, we'll
Okay.
watch this and hope it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, so that was like a little bit of the show from less than a week ago on stage again. And the only thing that I missed from that show is
Oh, the grind.
this. There were
Yeah.
no sparks. There were no
I
sparks in that show.
did. It was just that the hook has such nice lights. On the
Oh,
encore,
did
I
I
did
not?
that.
I missed it. How did I miss it? Okay.
Yeah, it was in the encore.
Oh,
So I
okay.
got that in just at the last minute, but you had to wait for it. Yeah.
All right.
So the
That's
next show, yeah, is at Palmer's. It's almost sold out. So if people want to go, they should get their tickets right now. And it's Friday. We're going to be there on Friday. So
Yeah, so you're going to play at Palmer's in just 2 days, and then also we were talking about this yesterday. You're going to play on top of the van for
Yeah.
bands in vans.
yes, July 10, I believe, and we're gonna have to downsize because we like to play loud and we have our big amps. So we're gonna downsize, but yeah, and hopefully I don't get seasick. But we're gonna do that, and I think we're stopping at a 331. I think we stop at Grumpy's, and we do a short set on each place. So how long my voice will hold up, I have no idea. But yeah, that's the final thing that we have booked, and we do have a new album coming out that I have. We recorded. Actually, we recorded 4 of the songs before I transitioned surgically. It was like a week before I went into surgery. I flew Barb out, my producer, out, and I just knew I wanted to get this done. So we recorded 4 of the songs and produced it, and she was here for well, that's right, yes. Barb is going by they now, so I have to remember not to use the correct pronouns. So they them. And that's something new that that they've done and come to the conclusion of now for probably maybe a year and a half that they're doing that. So I just want to make sure because I've known Barb for so long, and it takes a little while. Even for trans people, it takes a while to get caught up. So yes, but we recorded it with the band, and then I went into surgery, and that took me out of doing anything until I recovered from that. And then I was going through a bunch of turmoil, and then COVID hit, and then I went through more turmoil, and then I did the facial surgery, and that took 2 years additional with fighting with the insurance and trying to win coverage, and it was a nightmare. And finally, the other end of it, during that whole time, we wrote 2 additional songs, and now we have a 6-song album coming out, and we're just finishing it now. We actually wrote 3 songs. 2 songs, so 6. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
And when can we expect that, or you don't?
I'm
know?
hoping that we got to wait for the pressing and all of that. I'm in the process of mixing. We got 1 more drum track to record, then it's mastering, and then I send it off to the pressing company, and that takes a couple of months. I'm hoping that we have it out by the beginning of winter, maybe the end of fall. And then we have to see what the landscape is like COVID-wise and how we present it. If we can do a listening party, if we can do a little cameo private thing, or if we're all back in lockdown because of these damn variations that are, or the other viral variants coming through of one of those tackles our vaccines. So I don't know. But I'm hoping we stay in this openness that we're experiencing right now and we can do something fun. So
All right. Cool. Good. That's something else to look forward to. Well, I have one more big thing I want to kind of ask you about here, and we discussed this a little bit yesterday too. And I got permission directly from my child to bring this up. So, like I've been on the Pride group at the library for a while, and as an ally and as a parent, I've been getting really into it because my child, and I knew my child was part of the LGBTQIA plus community for a long time because they've been on Pride groups at their middle school for 2-3 years. But actually last winter when they were still 14, they came out to us as trans and baked a cake with the colors of the flag and everything, and said, I think I'm gender fluid. And, at first they were going to wear different bracelets for, so we knew which pronouns they preferred and stuff. But then they came out again a couple months ago and said, no, I think I'm really a boy. I'm just going to, you can use they, them, or he, him. Don't ever use she, her. So, but the reason I bring all this up, not to make this about, me or anything, but is because what I've noticed is in their school, I mean, in middle school, they had a huge pride group of kids and they did all sorts of things and they went on field trips and they, and then now half their friends are something, and I think they have one token straight friend, they joke about that, and but it's commonly accepted and there's like all this support and everything. And we're discussing how when you came out it was very different. So
oh yeah.
like what do you have to say about the difference between being an older trans person and how the youth of today is experiencing it? And I mean, I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but anyway.
Yeah. No. Well, I am so thrilled that we are where we are. I think it's so important to be able to grow up understanding who you are, exploring the gender you are, and untangling that whole difficult path of trying to marry that idea of who you are in spirit with the body that you're in, and finding a way to bring those two elements together into a unified individual. And you do that as a kid, that is even better. You avoid so many things. It just makes life so much better, and you sidestep so many of the difficulties that those of us who still are in situations where we can't come out like that, or we came out early, where we have to grow up in the body that's changing the way bodies change in ways we don't want them to. And then once we finally come out, then we have to do the medicalized way of trying to realize that connection again, and having to go through that, and it's very difficult. All paths have rewards, and every hardship has a reward in it. You learn something, you move forward, and I just, I saw it all happen. I saw it all unfold, and I guess, what am I talking about? It was so fascinating to watch the world change. And that was something, I think also it occurs to me, that pushed me into making the decision to say, I need surgery, I need to change. And before that, I was living a in-between life, which I was relishing and I was enjoying and I was making progress. But when it came down to it and I watched the world change and the landscape change, I realized I needed to fit in and I needed to find my truth and to be clear about that. And that was a difficult thing to do. And that was a recent thing. So it echoes back and forth. It's like an echo chamber. I was screaming away way back there in the late 80s, trying to say, this is who I am. This is what the world should be like, never expecting anything to happen, but just trying to do that enough so I could carve out my little bubble and I could live my life. And that's what I was trying to do. That echo just kept going, and everything changed and it came back. And look at the world we live in now. And we do have to remember that this is America that we're talking about, right? It's not the world. We tend to only think of America. There is so much horror happening to LGBTQ people in the rest of the world. Horror. And we can't forget about them. And they look to us to show them a path and give them hope. And I'm feeling emotional about it, but we can't forget that. I lived those dark days when it was America, and I lived that oppression and the terrible things that happened behind closed doors when people weren't looking, at late at night. The murders, the tortures, all of the things that happened to my community back then, and now we've gotten past it for the most part.
Yeah, I
we
mean, there's still some of that, but it's
we have a
seems lot better.
government that recognizes us. We have a school system that we have parents that recognize us. This is amazing to me. So we can't forget what we have, and we have to remember that we can't stop. There's so much more work to do. So I don't know. I just went off in my little chatterbox way and just went off on all kinds of things. But I am just so thrilled that we have the opportunities we have, but we can't give up. So we got to stay there. We got to stay working and moving forward. So yeah, okay.
Well, great, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being a guest here. Now, if there's anything else that we're at or a little bit over our allotted time, but if anybody has any last questions in the chat, if Venus, you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up, we can always do that.
Well, I want to thank everybody for just being here and taking the time to revisit the virtual landscape that we all got to know so well, but now as things are opening up, we're kind of forgetting about. And it's really it's wonderful because it makes the world smaller because people can come in, and I hope we don't lose this. So I'm just thrilled that everybody took the time to jump back on the computer and do this with their little webcams and everything. Thank you all. So.
Well, thank you, Venus and John. Thank you. Awesome job tonight. We've done a lot of these programs, Venus. This was the most fascinating, I think, of any. This is a wonderful conversation about your life and your career and your music. It was just really awesome to listen to you talk tonight. And you're not a chatterbox. You're just really fascinating. So thank you for being part of Vinyl Revival.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope to see some more shows coming up. I can't go to the Palmers because I got something else, but I was glad I saw the Hook, and I think I'm going to try to get down there and see what it's like playing on top of a van on July 10th. That
Come and see that.
Fun.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to go with how things unfold. We're gonna kind of sink into the album, and we've got a couple of music videos that we want to create to promote the album. So we're going to be out there in that fashion, and I'll be doing some small things. I have a Patreon page. I should mention that. Patreon.com/Venus to Mars. And I do I'm starting to do like boutique performances that are closed for members of my Patreon group. And as long as I can keep safe with COVID, I'll be doing those, and I'll be doing those virtually as well. So and the band wants to do that too. So we're going to have these little secret things that we'll be doing continually. So find me on Patreon and maybe put in a couple of dollars a month and get your toe in the door.
I should mention that Venus is also a MNspin artist. So if you go to the library website, hclib.org, and look for MNspin, Venus is on MNspin, and you can listen to her album. You can listen to Flesh and Wire tonight, right after the show, if you go to MNspin. Check it out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. Yes, thank you. So I'll be out there. I'm not going away.
Looking forward to it.
All right, cool.
Thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you all.